Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of, in this case, Scum Live, because we're kind of doing a live on the go autopsy of this. The name's Adam.
I'm ImpCit, and today we were reviewing Blades in the Dark.
Yeah, the runner-up. We had a poll a couple weeks ago, and this was a hard fight between it and Ghostbusters. And it was so close. I genuinely thought we were going to go with a coin flip to decide what we were going to cover before the Wraith special. But no, Ghostbusters barely won. But I thought that since enough people really wanted to look through this, might as well, especially since there's a lot of things that at least proc interest for me. Hey there, Metatron. And the reason I find this one kind of interesting is it tries to take Powered by the Apocalypse and improve it. This thing is kind of responsible for the Forged in the Dark system, which is one of the other. There's three major inspirations for modern tabletop gaming. There's the Atrocity that's Morkborg, there's Apocalypse World, and now there's Blades in the Dark. I mean, admittedly, the tabletop industry is exploding thanks to tariffs, and many of them relying desperately on printers in China. But still,
I
let
mean,
not Nito. Hey, people. Let's hope this doesn't turn into a degenesis. I would actually argue, since one of the inspirations is Mouse Guard, I hope it doesn't disappoint me like Mouse Guard. My,
Mouse Guard was going to disappoint you no matter what. Let's be fair.
Also, forgot to add, Tech Priest is here.
yeah, he was getting
Yep.
ice
Sorry.
cream.
Yep. Just had to get something sweet for today because it's been otherwise kind of shitty, and we got this awful game. Well, not
So,
awful,
It's
but you know.
we'll see. I will say that the best way to describe this for me, let's just get right into it. The cover, it's functional. The cover is functional. It has a certain kind of Dark Tower aesthetic, not Dark Tower, Darkest Dungeon aesthetics. Dark Tower is a very different tone.
kind of like a thief, almost like an urban fantasy feel to it.
Yeah, you're not
Which is
wrong.
what it's aiming for.
The hoodie aspect is kind of throwing me off a little bit.
Which is what
I mean, I
tried
guess
to,
they wanted like a cloaked figure.
yeah, which is what we tried to replicate on the thumbnail.
Yeah, I think it did pretty good. I kept adding skull-like visages to my avatar, but I'm okay with that. So this is unfortunately an Evil Hat's production publication, which I Evil Hat,
Oh
for
yeah.
those wondering, also made the atrocity that is Thirsty Swords Lesbians that had, I think, three campaign settings, maybe four that were actually okay, and one of them is considered a hate crime by the LGBT community. The really camp one's actually seen as kind of a hate crime by some of them.
That's the best one though.
I think the Dangerous Violets has the most legs, personally.
I know, but like if we're going for like completely like this is so blatantly LGBT that it's hitting you over the head with it. That's kind of the fun of that one.
Also, Metatron has an excellent observation. It's your average Londoner. I disagree. This isn't an average Londoner. This is actually, I believe, Plymouth. I believe Plymouth is the only southern UK city where they actually treat you like you're a northerner. AKA, they'll try to fucking stab you, mate. He's a northerner. He's very north. The only thing he's missing is the dartboard.
Yeah.
All he's missing is the Greg's FC.
So let's go through. This is basically the brainchild of John Harper, who did a couple of other smaller indie games. This is just the one that blew up. And
And boy, did it blow up.
it definitely did. Like I said, it is one of the three commonly used systems nowadays because it's very easy to just slap on.
Also, hi, Jimmy.
hmm Oh
But,
no, it thanks Adam Coble. Ooh, that's not gonna age well. If
remind
you
us again who Adam Coble is?
um, he's the dude who raped one of his players during a live stream
As in the game.
in the
Like the
game.
character.
In the
Not that,
game,
not that he actually committed a crime.
he made a
Right.
robot
He,
come in the game. Yes, but it completely destroyed his career. I find it kind of ominous that this is the first person you thank. I know it's alphabetical, but oh no. Oh
And
no.
also, we should look at the acknowledgments. We've got for the games that influenced this one. We have things like Apocalypse World, Mouse Guard.
Oh, Dogs in the Vineyard too. Uh,
Yep,
okay, that's
Stars
interesting.
Without Number, Night
I'm not surprised
Witches,
with that.
which
Night Witches is horrible. Unfortunate.
Fate.
But remember,
Uh,
Night Witches was one of the inspirations for what was it, the Flying Circus game. So
Well, yeah, they had to make something better than what Night Witches was. Holy shit.
we also have Thief, Dishonored, and Fallout fucking New Vegas of all things.
listen, Fallout New Vegas at this point is like millennial, just
It's a
hardcore millennial gamer shit. It's
it's a
like
it's a great game, but at the same time, like you look at things in terms of like their mechanics, maybe their setting. How does Fallout fit into this?
I
I
don't know, maybe because it's a post-apocalypse somehow. I whatever.
It could be just kind of the new Vegas vibe, like when you get to the city, maybe.
Yeah,
Or no. Actually, it might be based on some of the expansions, like the
it's the
Sierra
fucking
Madre
Sierra
one.
Madre. Yeah, I'm about to say it's probably the fucking Sierra Madre where you get all the fucking weird vibe people and traps everywhere, and the atmosphere is trying to fucking kill you.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is so far, I think it's going to be a bit of a coin flip because there's good inspirations and then there's horrible ones in this list. Not a fan of Fate as a system, mainly because
I think
iHunt used it.
That's also an evil hat uh, product, if I
Oh,
remember
all of
correctly.
them are. I think almost all of them are. I know Night. I think Night Witches is too. It's just very unfortunate. Here's the table of contents. Very very simple. And here is the opening piece of art, which nails
I
the
think
tone
it's
fairly well.
yeah,
It's going for a noir sort of look. It's going for Whitechapel, 1880s.
and
The
it says
dregs, the destitute, the
yeah
rejected.
the game is about a group of daring scoundrels building a criminal enterprise on the haunted streets of an industrial fantasy city. Which, as an opening statement, makes a lot of good sense.
I mean, it just that's your elevator pitch right there. It knows what it wants to do, and it just tells you right here.
The game is set in the foggy city of Duskville, aka Duskwall,
Hmm.
which is great for showing its Dishonored influence, because that's just a few letters off from Dunwall.
Also, Dun is I believe Dun is a synonym. No, Dun is a synonym to hill or dusky. I think.
Oh, it's even more. So there's trains, steamboats, printing presses, simple electric technology, black smoke of chimney fog, crowded with row houses, twisting streets, hundreds of waterways. It's also a fantasy. It's a world in perpetual darkness haunted by ghosts, result of a cataclysm that shattered the sun and broke the gates of death 1,000 years ago.
So it's always night. Okay.
You're in a haunted Victorian era city trapped inside a wall of lightning powered by demon blood.
It knows what it wants to do, so I'm not complaining so far. And the point of all this is to create a pressure cooker environment for our criminal escapades. Traveling outside the lightning barrier is a very bad idea. So basically, a massive goddamn railroad. So I mean, I don't blame you. Once you get off the rails, it is you basically have to learn how to improv it very well. So it's impractical to leave town and wait for the heat to die down. Basically, what they want to play with is the notion of it's known as the thieves' dilemma. When you successfully make a heist, how do you get rid of the goods? Because that's something you got to think about. After the heist, a lot of the stuff you have is hot. How do you fence it? How do you launder it? And as for
Which
the
that's a good twist to bring on there. In terms of the characters and what their options are, you have cutters, your fighters, hounds, sharpshooters, leeches, alchemists, lurks, infiltrators. Slides, manipulators and spies, spiders, masterminds, and whispers, your mages. So those are
Basically,
your
these serve as kind of your, I believe they were called moves in Powered by the Apocalypse, templates. It's similar to that.
yes. And then you'll have your crew. So whether you are assassins, you're a cult, you're bravos, which are extortionists, hawkers who sell illegal products, smugglers transporting contraband, and shadows, thieves or spies.
So it very much is leaning hard into planning and stealthing heists, essentially. This is very
It's a
much,
heist game.
well, yeah,
That's basically what this is supposed to be. Is at its core, it is a game about doing a heist as in the setting of Crapsack Victorian hellhole. That's even worse than Crapsack Victorian hellholes were.
well, I mean, I was also going to compare it to Shadowrun, which can be very similar in this regard.
Yes, Shadowrun is a game where you spend 8 hours planning the heist that takes 15 minutes.
So this is supposed to be essentially a rules light version of that.
Right, which I do not blame is something to go for because that's some of the best fun of Shadowrun is preparing everything, your contingencies and your backup plans, and then watching it all go to shit.
There's also the issue that, have you actually looked through? We've looked through Shadowrun 5th edition's rules. It's
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a
once you
time commitment
understand
there,
it,
buddy.
it's amazing to play, but holy shit.
Getting someone that's only played fucking fifth edition to try to play Shadowrun is like
They're never
that
going to
that ain't
leave
gonna
5th
work well,
edition.
Chief.
They're never going to leave 5th edition normally. This will confirm their beliefs.
Yeah,
One thing that I'm seeing that's a bit of a downer, and we see this repeatedly, is that they want sessions of these games to be almost like a TV show, like an episode of a TV show.
that's not necessarily a bad way to look at these, though. It
I mean,
depends on how you're doing it.
the way I always interpret heist stories, I mean, here's the thing. Whenever I run or play in Shadowrun, that's actually kind of how we do it. It's episode might last a couple of sessions, but then the downtime essentially serves as the bridge between that episode or short series and then the next one.
The best way to look at a game, a way to do that is that you have an overarching series, and then you have a mini arc inside of that, and that is your run.
Yeah,
And then your episodes as downtime are basically the character building episodes, the episodes where you're doing all your dirty work and building up to reveal the next arc.
yeah, like the way this is handling it, I think it being episodic does make a lot of sense.
Right. Oh, there's another thing this reminds me of, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is the Lies of Locke Lamora. Very good fantasy book. Also sort of set in a craptastic, semi-Victorian, medieval-ish sort of world in a fantasy setting. Uh, Also about a bunch of thieves. Very good, actually. I do recommend that book. Sequels aren't quite as good, but the first one just nails the feel.
I mean, since we're also talking about Victorian era, I know it's a little bit, it's kind of plays around with it in general. The Sharp series, it deals a little
Yeah,
bit with heisting to a degree.
I
Yeah,
think you
they
just
do.
want an excuse to have Sean Bean die on screen again.
They do have, in terms of like other touchstones to like pitch this to players, referencing Peaky Blinders, The Wire, Spartacus, Narcos, um, and in addition to the video games,
I can
Dishonored.
100% see.
Yeah,
I can 100% see Peaky Blinders for this though.
Peaky
Like
Blinders,
that's the
definitely. The Wire and Narcos are also pretty good choices. When I think of Spartacus, I unfortunately think of how many of those poor actors then get hired on to do really horrible productions. Like a reminder that one of the guys from Spartacus, his last role was in the horrible nightmare that was the Ahsoka show. That's the last thing he ever did.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
truly a
it's
fate worse
just
than death.
if you're at Spartacus, I think you're cursed. I think there's like a curse on that show where you're inevitably going to be in something fucking horrible.
They
There-
also position the system, at least, as that no one's in charge of the story. The story is what happens as a result
Oh,
of what's presented by the GM, the characters' actions, outcome mechanics. It emerged from an unpredictable collision of all these elements.
Okay. They almost turned me off because whenever I hear it's a collaborative effort, that usually means I don't want a GM, but I have to.
Yeah, they're almost kind of really just
Ugh.
putting in a lot of words, which is essentially GM gives you a scenario, you make the call of what to do, or the GM makes a call of what action to take, roll the dice, play out the actions.
Well, I was going to say nothing survives the initial plans of both the players and the GM. It never does. The dice legitimately will throw that out the window.
And bringing that up, um, we need to talk about mechanics. So, Blades in the Dark uses six-sided dice. You'll roll several and select the highest result. If the highest dice is a six, full success. If you roll more than one six, it's a critical success, so some advantage besides just getting what you wanted.
So you can
If
already see some of the differences because this does take the Apocalypse World engine and actually seriously tweaks it. There's a reason it made a new system called Forged in the Dark.
if the highest dice is a four or a five, that's your partial success, so you get what you want, but then there's a consequence. And if the highest dice is one through three, it's a bad outcome. Things go poorly, you probably don't achieve your goal, and you suffer complications.
So again, I'm not the biggest fan of the partial success thing, but we will see if this game does what Roma did and what Flying Circus did, which had outcomes based on those. Because one of the biggest problems with systems like this is specifically that if you don't actually explain or give examples, your GM's kind of screwed because they have to make it up. You have to basically do the patchwork for this game if you don't. Oh, and
And so,
Metatron also references Mistborn has a bit in some of his books. Yeah, Mistborn would also work.
the dice pool is created by your trait. You take whatever its dice is equal to its rating, ranging from one to four. And you'll use these for action rolls, downtime rolls, fortune rolls, resistance. The thing is, though, is that the game structure is essentially free play. Characters talk to each other, they go places, they do things, they make rolls as needed. They choose a target for their criminal operations, they choose a type of plan to employ. You then get an engagement roll, and you then go to the score phase.
Okay,
During the
so
score,
I already have a couple of issues with this. First off, downtime rolls, I understand their existence, but it just feels kind of arbitrated. My biggest problem though is the whole point of it is your plans are supposed to be based on what you and the players can cook up with. This kind of just foists it on the dice, which I don't think is a great idea. I don't know, I don't like that concept.
I mean, they're definitely gamifying it, so it's like you have your target, and then you have your plan, and then you try to implement that plan and see how far you can get. And if you get there, you'll complete the operation. You'll go into downtime, in which you'll then have systems for payoff, heat, and entanglements to determine the fallout from the score. And that's the gameplay cycle. It's
Uh, it,
almost like a kind of like in a movie where it's a heist, where it's like, okay, this person will do this thing, this person does that thing, and then it just shows them doing the action. This is definitely designed for very quick play.
yeah, I don't like that because the one of the things that makes heist games good is actually the amount of time and effort you put into doing things like legwork, casing, planning.
I think that might come in with the score, but
Also, here's some of that Morkborg cancer examples on what it does here. Very similar to how there's actually a page in Morkborg where it tries to show how health works, and it's just a whole page with a human heart on it, and they
Edge.
basically stretched it out as much as they could. This has kind of a similar energy. I I don't like how much they simplified the heist aspect. I understand, but the we'll see. We'll see. They might actually improve this a bit as we
Let's see,
go.
because then we have our actions. So we've got 12 different actions: attune, command, consort, finesse, hunt. prowl, skirmish, study, survey, sway, tinker, and wreck. And you obviously will make a roll for those. And you'll then have those. The results are determined by your position. It's controlled, risky, or desperate. So this is where the Power by the Apocalypse, what the dice result has with negative consequences, this is now determining the severity of the consequence.
And they give some examples here. So, example actions and attributes rating. So, this character has a hunt rating action of 1, and they have an insight rating of 1. That's their attribute. They have prowl 1 and skirmish 2. Their prowess attribute rating is 2. Okay.
But
Actually having a bit of art here, if you're trying to tell me your example, doesn't help. Oh, it doesn't actually tell me an example of the dice pool. Lovely. Excellent. Thank you. Very cool. Mm.
so it's
Mm-mm.
it's your highest attribute.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
And then here's edgy rocker Dishonored character, I guess. Or maybe it's
Again,
Ghost.
more Darkest Dungeon style art, in my opinion.
But then you have stress. So if you want to push yourself for greater performance, you take 2 stress and then you'll get a bonus. Either additional level to your effect, taking an action when you're downed, or just adding a single dice to your roll.
Which, remember, this could actually be not necessarily detrimental, but generally not as impactful as you'd think. Because all that's doing is giving you an extra 1 in 6 chance to succeed.
And then let's see, if you max out your stress, you get trauma. Trauma means you're taken out of action. You'll have 0 stress and your vice will be satisfied. Downtime. Trauma conditions are permanent. When you have your 4th trauma condition, your character cannot continue and you must retire them.
I'm
Which,
going to be blunt. I fucking hate this aspect of Powered by the Apocalypse because this is the same thing from that. I
no,
hate
no,
that this system still does this.
this is entirely from Candela Obscura. Candela Obscura took this entirely. I remember it.
And I fucking hated it back then too. I
I
hate
think the
this.
difference is that they might have a little bit more on what these conditions are, but at the same time, I'm reading conditions like cold. You're not moved by emotional appeals or social bonds. What's the result of that condition?
That's more of a personality trait, honestly.
It's
Yeah,
really,
they say
that's the problem with this, is that it's more of a role playing thing than a mechanical thing.
No, and I understand that, but that doesn't necessarily indicate trauma. That could just be like, imagine if you already were a cold and quiet person and then you got that. What would be the difference?
yeah, I don't see the gameplay effects into this.
This was the weakest thing from Candela Obscura, and it's very unfortunate that it came from this.
This is not to mention the fact that you also can have your character die and come back as an undead.
So no one's ever really gone. I actually find it fitting that I reference Star Wars because this leads to, because of how you can get fully hit with stress. This can lead to the comical example of your character getting yeeted into a lightning generator. You see their eyeballs and fucking head explode, and then they'll come back fine with just 1 trauma.
Somehow they've returned.
Somehow your character is returned. And that's not even as an undead or as a ghost. That's if you take this as raw, as written, you could legitimately have a ghost rip out their heart, Kalima style, eat it. They fall dead. They are then lit on fire. They are burned to ash. There is nothing left. And then they come back.
That just at the pub, they're just like, "Hey guys,
I mean, I might be overselling it, but that's kind of like the level of rules is written to me. I There's a point where I'm sorry, your character's dead. I'm sorry. Your character's just straight dead. You get attacked by the stabbing ghost and you get stabbed 55 times. You might survive that. Fair enough. I would be okay
I
with that.
I
But
I, I was carrying a charm that that only stops after 56 stabs.
I would have just said, thankfully the ghost was stupid and forgot I had dextrocardia. What? He stabbed me 55 times in the wrong side of my chest. He didn't get my heart. I don't get where they were going with this raw. I don't either, not Nito.
No.
I think the
Uh,
idea is
there,
to simplify this, but the way it's handled is terrible. Bad Powered by the Apocalypse games do this too. Like there's a
you
horrible one called Extreme Meat Punks Forever that did this too.
you can simplify it, but you need to have mechanical and role playing work together.
Oh
You
no,
can't have one or the other.
I just realized, you know what you could do in Blades of the Dark, although it'd be harder? Remember, you could use stress. And when your stress is maxed out, you get a trauma. You could legitimately destroy your psyche and become unplayable just by botching your social roles. So you could literally die by interacting with humans.
You
Yeah,
you just simply lose your faith in humanity and go off to kill yourself. Yeah.
and then you come back as a vampire.
Oh man.
But this brings us to the progress clock,
AKA the
which
thing Adam hates the most.
which is to tell us, based on what we're trying to do, how successful we are. So, for instance, sneaking past a watchtower, make a clock to attract the alert level of the patrolling guards. When they suffer consequences from partial or missed rolls, fill in the segments until the alarm is raised, which means 5 out of 6 times there's a they're going to get those partial or missed rolls. That die is going to fill up quickly, which is why it's weird that they're saying that a complex obstacle takes um, as a 4 segment and like a daunting is
When
8.
you
I
create a
would
clock, you make it about the obstacle, not the method. So basically, put like when they're saying complicated, it's like a four disc clock is there's Clyde, the guard, and he's sleeping. And you need to get by him without waking him up. But oh no, like there's the jangly keys you've got to get by so on and so forth. Simple, right?
Yeah, it's the complications. Speaking of which, we're on the
Like
progress clocks, which
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
like
it's
him in
about
the Candle Obscura, don't really care for him now.
and they do say that not every situation requires one. So they give us, for instance, to represent danger, represent if you're in a race, mission, tug of war for a long-term project.
the
So
danger
Clock.
clock is actually
So
useful in terms of you can use this as a way to just show players that the heat's coming.
you could do
but
it
I don't.
that way. I mean, I understand the point of one of these clocks because what it does is it does the same thing as an extended dice roll. If you've ever
It creates
done an
tension.
extended action in the World of Darkness, it's the same concept. You need X number of successes. In this case, it's just broken up into units of time.
The other
I do.
way you could use it is to build tension, which is that you can use a clock to ratchet up. Like the players get to see it that you've been ratcheting this clock up to the point of like that something very bad could happen very soon.
So, like, here's an example. You decide to do your crime. You decide to do your be gay do crime, and it's at the local Salisbury steak factory for the poors. Like you're trying to rob the owner because let's say you either just want the money or you're just starving, and you case the place and you note that the guards take about 6 clock actions to circle the place. That means you have 6 bits before they notice. Hey, wait a minute! The bloody gate's been ripped open because you kind of had to brute force it since it was a chained lock. That would be an
So
example of that.
I like Not Nito's comment. Clocks, aka we had a bunch of bars and decided to bend them.
Uh, I always like to see them as they remind me of educational aids because it's kind of interesting where tabletop gets some of their inspiration from. This is sort of the thing that you'd see in like a patience training module.
I mean, that's
Right.
sort of what we're doing as GMs. We're just measuring our patience out until we're like, okay, no, fuck you, you died.
True. I mean, you can also interpret it as, okay, I see you as a bunch of developmentally disabled children, so here's the patience clock.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think that there's room for clocks in certain games. I just
No, 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 no.
don't think that it's implemented well here.
The way I interpret it is what you could do here could also be equally solved by doing the number of successes needed. Like you just do an
An
extended
extended
roll.
role.
You could
Well,
just
you
do an
could. That's the
extended
main
action.
thing. Is if you're doing it as an extended action, my main thing would be that you could use the clocks as either a progress tracker, but that's just one of those things where it's a good visual representation for that.
Yeah.
It's good,
Y-
but it's pointless to me.
Fair enough. Like I can see the
I don't hate
use.
it. No, no, here's the thing. It's not like if you told me to bust out a card deck to play a tabletop game.
Okay.
It's not like that. It's similar to how you use cards as a reference guide for your equipment, where it's fine because it has a function, it's a visual aid. Not everyone can memorize this shit on the fly.
That now brings us though to the actual actions. So the way actions work is you'll state your goal, you choose the action rating, GM sets the position, GM sets the effect level, you add your bonus dice, and you roll. So action rating meaning you know, if you're wanting to roll like for skirmish action, that means you're getting into a fight. If it's a command, you're ordering somebody.
I'm gonna punch this git in the face. You have to state your goal, and then you have to pick your action rating. So in this case, you'd be using I don't know what the equivalent of wreck. You want to wreck their
Yeah.
face, and then the GM has to set the position. So how troublesome is it? If it's a barfly, it'd probably be controlled. If
By
it
default,
was
though,
if it was a
by
roided
def
up super soldier, desperate
yeah.
probably.
By default, an action is risky. And again, this explains sort of the consequences. If it's controlled, you're just set up for success. So I assume that your failure is going to mean that it's something minor. Risky, you're acting under duress, you're taking a chance, so opportunity for you to have misplaced something important. Desperate, you're overreaching your capabilities,
Oh,
so
fuck
you're
off. It encourages the player to fucking haggle over your position. Oh,
oh,
fuck off.
oh, come on.
Fuck off. That's bad enough when it was horrible enough in Mage the Ascension where you had, especially in early edition, where you could legitimately browbeat your fucking storyteller into how your spheres can interact to do whatever the hell you want. That's already terrible. You don't even have the audacity to just have indications or something. Like you're oh god. Never is it that hard to just have a simple arbitration system? Like the whole point is
Yes.
your storyteller
Yeah.
is a referee. Like what the fuck?
The answer to
Then,
that is
yeah.
always yes,
Then you
because
Uh
have
we're nerds
there.
and direct conflict is not in our nature.
Then you have the effect level. So is it limited, standard, or great? Basically, the inverse of our position. You then add your bonus dice, and in addition to pushing yourself, you can accept the devil's bargain. To reflect this, the GM or any other player can offer you a bonus die. You accept this bargain, and that would mean collateral damage. You sacrifice wealth. You add heat to your crew, which I don't understand why. Then you would have the player do this if it's going to fuck over the entire group.
well, I mean, maybe it's kind of like Wraith where remember, you're kind of only in it for the profit for yourself, sort of. Like the whole thing of a criminal enterprise is you work together to get the things you need. So you can't, but the problem is it's another thing of the thieves dilemma. Yes, you can totally snake the people around you, but that's going to screw you back.
I
That's why
think
it's
it's
the
more.
devil's bargain.
Yeah.
I
And
do
again,
love the
GMs have
mental
the final
image
say.
though of intentionally breaking your neck to like stab a barfly for no reason. I just there's something magical about that. But
And
because here's the
then
thing, like, you break your neck, don't worry, you'll come back, you'll just be sad. You'll just spontaneously be sad because all of the traumas you get, from what I understand, they're all emotional. Like you could get pulled inside out and survive, and the only thing you'll feel is just cold.
You just got some nightmare demonic visions now. It's okay.
And I think here is now where they, after a lengthy discussion about why we do this, different techniques you can do in trading position and effect, it just seems like fluffery to me.
Oh hey, we actually have the Godzilla in chat. Oh boy, Bleh in the dark. Yeah, there's some stuff in here that's already kind of a problem.
I'd like to move on to page 30, talking about consequences and harm.
Oh, did you just realize that you could
Oh
probably
boy.
cut this entire thing in half if you did it right?
Yes,
Because
because
this is really stretched out for what it
this is
actually
all just
is.
like different techniques and everything for a GM. Listen, you cut this out, sell it as the GM's guide.
Or what you do is, and here's what you're actually supposed to do. See, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put it in the back half, because the players ain't gonna read this. Like if they're playing Blades in the Dark, they're not gonna. These are people that are just trying something outside of D&D Fifth Edition for the first time. They're not gonna get it. Mike Merle
You
told me
know,
so.
the
You're too
people, the
stupid to
salt
do
of the
math.
earth. The salt of the earth, morons.
They're complete rubes. All of them. The women,
So
the black people, all of them. Mike Merle's told me this.
Especially the children. The children are the stupidest of all.
It's like that's why you get the term taking candy from a baby. Which
yeah,
is which is actually what the first heist in this game is going to be, is you steal candy from a fucking baby.
You
you fail
fucking
that
monsters.
you fail that you trip, fall, stab your eye in the baby carriage,
You convulse, you should be dead. You just come
Entire
back.
party is killed by a fucking
yeah.
baby
No, and then you
because
just
it
pop back in the bar. You pop back in the bar, just slightly traumatized, and maybe one of you has an eye
traumatized.
patched.
Like, you have an eye patch. You can say, "How'd you get that?" And he's like, "I don't want to tell you. It's too horrible of a story."
I just
So
I love the games where you could legitimately have your character die because you just people out socialed you. That's so horrible.
I got shot in 7 different places. All they hit was my self-esteem.
This
But for our consequences and
is
harm,
where your harm comes in.
yeah. So consequence could represent trouble, in which case you'll take 1+1 heat. So you lose status with a faction, or you uh, have too many witnesses, the target evades you, reinforcements arrive, or the GM just ticks a clock for complication.
You
Uh,
agitated the cat.
And a
Therefore, your
serious
crime family that you work for is angry at you.
and a serious one might mean 3 ticks on a clock, 2+heat, or other things.
I,
There
I
could
I
be
love vague descriptions on what the complications are. It really helps me as a storyteller or GM on having to fill in the holes of this Swiss cheese system. I
mm,
will, however,
I
say
mean,
this is still crunchier than the worst Powered by the Apocalypse games we've read so far.
you can put
I,
yourself in
I
a worse
am ribbing
position.
it a bit, but this is still not as bad as Candela Obscura. So
There
that's
is
something.
harm, and I'm loving this first sentence because a consequence like this can represent a long-lasting debility or death.
or
So
death in
yes,
That too.
parentheses.
congratulations. This is one of the first Power by the Apocalypse games where you can die.
Well, it's not powered by the apocalypse, it's forged in the darkness.
Forged in the Darkness games where you can die. So you have 3 levels of harm. Uh, one which has reduced effect, one which just gives you a straight up -1, or a severe harm.
Okay, so you
Uh,
can be electro. Okay, yeah, they have the fatal examples. So you do
yes,
actually die if you get electrocuted and stabbed in the heart. Okay, that's good. That's actually that saves a lot of damage.
and it seems like reduced effect is a situational. The example they give is if you're drained and battered, you'll suffer a reduced effect when you try to run away from the bluecoats, the cops. If you're impaired by harm on the top, your character is incapacitated and can't do anything unless you have help from someone or push yourself to perform the action. If you run out of spaces on the top row and need to mark harm there, you suffer catastrophic permanent consequence. So yes,
Which means you could just McFucking die.
there
Which is
you can
good.
die,
That's
which
actually
yes.
You know things are bad when you have to applaud a game for having death
For
as a.
allowing you to die, yes.
You know things are fucked when that's a problem. Yeah, the meme is
I think we
unfortunately dead. Thankfully, this person is somewhat competent and thought that through. I get the feeling they thought that up after they realized, wait a minute, you could just assault someone until they died, and you could
in
possibly,
this case
or you
in
could
this
throw
case you
someone
could
into a lightning rod and they might survive based on the original rules. So let me add a
let me
point.
change that so that they go off and kill themselves instead.
Then again, so next up is the resistance. So if you suffer consequence that you don't like, you can choose to resist it and resolve that based on one of your attributes, based on your uh, the consequence of the injury.
You no sell the fucking lightning bolt. Okay, buddy.
Listen,
Well,
you're too
this is the
tough.
thing. You suffer 6 stress automatically, minus the highest die result from the roll.
So the meme's not dead. It still looks like the meme's back on the menu, lads. Also, I
You're right, yeah.
So
fucking hate this sentence. No, I don't think so. I'm resisting that. Really? You're gonna phrase it like that?
This does get something funny though, where you get a
Oh,
minor injury of some sort, or just a minor consequence, and you say, "I'm resisting that." Botch your fucking stress roll, makes you go insane, gives you the final trauma, and you die. You die from a stub toe.
your stub toe made you reconsider your life as a criminal and turn a new leaf as a upstanding moral member of society.
I got stabbed by my ex. I'm gonna resist that with smoozing. Oh no, she said she never loved me. I'm going insane. Ah!
And this will, so if you get a critical from this resistance, you clear 1 stress, but usually the resistance roll reduces the severity of a consequence.
That line sounds like a playtester said that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Jimmy. There's just some energy about it that just infuriates me, both as a player and as a GM. Oh, I
Let's
hate
see.
that.
You then have armor, uh, which you can mark an armor box to reduce or avoid a consequence instead of rolling to resist. And when an armor is marked, it can't be used again until it's restored. Um, so
Okay,
there
so
are
what you're
ways to
saying
avoid.
is I could survive getting shot in the face, but then the armor will do nothing. It'll do absolutely nothing if I get shanked in me kidneys,
If you,
according to
yeah,
this
yeah.
system.
Well, I would assume in that case your armor broke.
My face armor broke, even
Well,
though I.
they give an example here of like if you have heavy armor and it's like a level 2 harm, the harm is reduced to level 1. Um, and you could, for this armor, you could have a second armor box and reduce it again, but uh,
No, I
it's
understand.
basically
It's really weird because mechanistically this means that it's the same piece, it's in different spots, and I'm being more of a simulationist in this, I guess, but the way I'm interpreting it is you get shot in the face, you tank the damage down to like a level 1, but the armor's been shredded completely. I don't know. It's just kind of weird that then that happens and then you get stabbed in like the leg and you have no armor.
yeah. So
It's
with
weird. I get it. I understand why. It's basically kind of a temporary soak to allow you to avoid harm. I get it. It's just really weird.
yeah. So there are ways to die. Level 4 harm and you don't resist it, and if you have harm at level 3 and it's already filled and you suffer the catastrophic consequence, and that consequence is death.
I also do love the idea. It's also a choice the player wants to make. Nah, I'ma just die.
Yeah. I
I'm
do
sick of
like
this
though
Yes,
the
the
character.
fact
sweet
I'm
release of
sick
that
of this
death.
again,
world.
you can become a ghost, and then your ghost can either become a hull, which is essentially a ghost robot, or a vampire.
I just love that. I just love the fact of the matter is that death is so novel as a concept in this game. It's like, oh yes, the sweet release of death.
Truly the innovation powered by the apocalypse needed.
At least Roma knew to put that in there too.
Then we
Yeah.
have the yeah. Then we have the fortune roll, which is a tool the GM can use to disclaim decision making. So when you need to
Basically,
make a
these are little
determinate,
fuck you dice.
yeah. Well, no, when you need to make a determination about a situation the PCs aren't directly involved in and don't want to decide the outcome, even though you're rolling a dice, therefore you are making a
I mean, you're
decision.
deciding it, but this is more like random chance.
Yeah.
Like, all right,
And when an outcome's uncertain.
Like here's
like
an
you don't know
example.
if their plan's gonna 100% work, so you're rolling these dice to see if it does.
Like for
Fair enough.
example, remember the meatpacking plant heist I kind of suggested, where the guard kind of comes in every 6 blocks. Maybe he had to take a wicked piss, and it's on the way there. So he's running by, and just, oh no, the complication is he saw it 1 tick box early. You were expecting 6, he got there in 5. Or alternatively, oh no, the bluecoats are investigating whether or not they use Soylent Green in their meatpacking supplies, and if they use too much, they don't have the license proper for it, so they're gonna get busted. So that adds heat since they're
There's a police raid or something like that that is scheduled to interrupt the proceedings or whatever. Do you
yeah.
get out before that happens?
All right. Then we have more just gameplay options, gathering
Yeah,
information,
it's called legwork in Shadowrun. This is critical
yeah,
if you want to do a heist.
your your coin, which is your just how much wealth you have in an abstract sense, your stash, the ability to fight on faction level. That's based on your rep, and so on and so on and so forth. We've got a lot of stuff that's, I guess, more crew based. You know,
Yeah, we got examples and questions for options on how your skills might work.
you've got crew advancement, PC advancement,
Skipping the example of
y-
player versus player, crew versus
all your
we're
basic
skipping all
stuff,
that. The
and then
faction game.
they
Oh god, they added this mechanic too to this? So take a look at the factions on page 282. So we got to go all the way down there, then back up here. It gives you ideas on how to set their turf. Oh my god.
we then can go into like character creation.
Yeah, we get the advancements and how the crew advances.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
which we've got our hair. You've got your playbook, which yeah they'll have their initial action ratings and specific abilities. We've got your heritage, in which you're from one of the various, uh, again, not Dishonored locations, because they're all kind of island kingdoms or faraway kingdoms.
Then you choose your background, which is where you come from. Then you place around your action dots, your special ability, super
So on and
special
so,
armor,
yeah, so on and so forth.
close friend, one rival, choose your vice, blah, blah, blah. I like that they
Let's
do
see.
give you a variety of names to pick from. That helps. That helps
It
for
gets
the
you into the
particularly
theme of the
uncreative.
setting, because clearly these names are not your. They're a mix of just various names. They're not simply your just generic. It gets you into the setting.
And it does the summary thing, which I always like whenever you make a character. Not kidding. This is something that I think books should do because, let's be blunt, it's a helpful reference guide. It's always helpful to have something like this.
Let's then take a look at example of a playbook. So the first one up is the cutter. You earn XP when you address a challenge with violence or coercion. You have skirmish 2, command 1, and you can build to either be like a captain, just a thug, a devil hunter. You'll have special abilities that make you better at command, at just carrying stuff, protecting people, various items. And there does seem also to be an encumbrance mechanic.
I am
There is.
also I'm also not necessarily the biggest fan of different ways of earning XP. mainly because depending on how you run your heists, you can get fucked. Like a cutter is very direct. They only gain their XP from brawling. So let's say a lot of your heists go smoothly, or at least relatively smoothly, and you avoid that. Well, tough shit. You're not getting any. That's why the coercion's there as like a desperation secondary way. And as for the special abilities, remember you can only really pick one.
Yeah, so they're leaning you into a certain archetype. And it
Also,
seems
one
like
of them is Ghost Fighter, which is legitimately just the adept ability to punch ghosts.
Yeah, just punch ghosts with your hands.
it seems like looking at a bunch of these other playbooks, they have at least one line you can go to that is much more dedicated to fighting spirits and the supernatural rather than normal people.
Anyway, your next option is the Hound, which is your sniper. It's your sniper build.
Your
Sharpshooter and
sniper and
tracker.
yeah, tracker, shooter.
Apparently, you have a hunting pet, so this actually might be based on. Again, I'm surprised they didn't reference Darkest Dungeon because there's kind of an energy of Darkest Dungeon to this. Yeah, actually, the more I think about it, the more this does remind me of Darkest Dungeon.
Hmm.
A little weird. It's just because like this person's supposed to have like a pet compadre. It seems.
Well, that's just an yeah, that's just one of your items that you get.
I know, but it reminds me like there's the was it the Houndmaster class from Darkest Dungeon
Right, right. Then there's the leech.
who legitimately is holding a skull in the very same style as the occultist from Darkest Dungeon.
Well, that's basically what they are: a saboteur and technician, tinker and wreck, technical skill and mayhem. Along with these are the people who distill the drugs, refine the arcane, and build the bombs.
Then you have like the lurk, which is stealth, assassins, burglars.
Yeah, these are your sneak thieves. These are
Yeah.
the guys that you basically send in to die because they're the ones that have to do the casing silently.
Then you've got your con man.
Yep, con man slash face.
Then the spider, your master manipulator.
Also, if I recall, let me double check. There is one of these that gets screwed up, I think. Let me just double check. Because I think there is one particular build that screws you over. No, okay, it's not these ones. I might be confusing it with another game, but there's like a game where you only gain EXP from getting coins, and it's stupid. Like you can only progress if you get like coins. Ugh.
Now it's you playing to your archetype. Like the whisper, you earn XP when you address a challenge with knowledge or arcane power.
No, I thought that it might be in this game. I think it's a different game. I'm getting confused. Uh, Odds are they did not mention Darkest Dungeon because of some legal dispute, but that's just my guess. Possibly not NATO, but it just a lot of the art style reminds me of it, and same as it's kind of also like the similar time period. The only thing it's missing is like the little bit of medieval aspect that's still in the system.
Yeah. Well, then after all this, you have your crew creation.
No, you got your channeler. You got your channeler slash possessed person.
The
Yeah, the
whisper, yeah.
whisper.
They also describe the devils in the details. Specific things from your items and might include devil's bargains yourselves.
And then you have for your crew, like a special ability. You can get upgrades, creating your cohorts.
So basically, your crew is supposed to fit a certain archetype, which would be similar to certain types of Shadowruns. Like if you're playing a team of assassins, you're being hired to ice people. You're being sent to
Right.
kill union leaders, anarchists, political rivals, cheating exes, that sort of thing. If you're a part of a cult, you're trying to serve Slavothagor, the forgotten lost god of calculus, the most horrifying of all deities. Sneak thieves, smugglers, basically it just determines what you get. Yeah, Money XP is such a shit idea outside of Dungeons and Dragons. I might be confusing it with another system that has a similar name. There's a lot of names
Shadow
that close.
Dark?
Shadow Dark, that's the one I'm thinking of. Jesus, there's so many similar names for these. Blades in the Dark, Forged in the Dark, Shadow Dark.
Shadow Dark is a D20 system, if I'm remembering
World
right,
of
though.
Darkness,
Yeah, I know. Like, come up with
Chronicles
something
of
new.
Darkness,
Come up with
Darkness of
something new.
Darkness.
Dark Angels.
The Dark Heresy. Oh my God, it's just stop. It's like knives in my brain.
You'd say Knives in the Dark. Uh? Uh?
Hmm?
Oh no, I'm going insane. Takes 6 stress, 5 harm, dies, becomes ghost.
Extreme Dark Punks.
That's a terrible one, but yeah. And then they like give you ideas of like creating a gang that you can work with or things like that.
Which is neat.
Uh,
It's always
A
neat to
bunch
and
of
come up
then
with stuff like
each
this.
then each archetype
It
has
even
its
has
own.
upgrades like I know this isn't like unique to Darkest Dungeon, but the crew upgrades kind of reminds me of the Hamlet upgrades.
that are
Yeah.
just like
I know
I
that
don't know.
it's not
It gives me
specifically
some
that.
Necromunda vibe to it, but
That too. Yeah.
well, you're a gang, makes sense.
Oh no, the Book of Vile Darkness. The one that has the
The
life drinker.
Underdark. The Guide to the Underdark or whatever the fuck.
Grimdark.
So you can also create cohorts or experts. My guess is they're supposed to be aides slash sacrificial monkeys.
Pretty
Yeah, I
much.
mean that's what the thugs are. You just send the thugs out to die instead of you. Cause a distraction.
Many of you will die, but that is a risk that
That
I
is a,
am willing to
that is a
undergo.
sacrifice I am willing to take.
You have like cults. You have hawkers. So
By the way, this one, I think this might be a heavily Yeah, this is a heavily. I've seen this alleyway before. This is like a real alleyway. And what they did was they took a photo and then just heavily ran it through an art filter. They definitely ran it through at least the oil paint filter, and then they turned it to black and white, and then just messed with the. Yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong, it works. It's a real simple way to get art assets, but I can tell this was a photo that you converted, probably using something like Paint.net or GIMP or Photoshop. I ain't gonna shit
Anyway,
on
they
it. It's
cover
fine.
the various types of crews and the
yeah.
bonuses and stuff you get out of them.
Then after that, like that section, you go on to talk about the uh, planning and engagement of heists.
By the way, I kind of really hate the way their layers are constructed. I don't. Is it supposed to be an organization chart or how the layer's supposed to
I
be
couldn't tell.
designed? Don't like it. But yeah, these are just kind of the things that you get and what they do. I believe you're supposed to be able to purchase these improvements and just kind of tack it on to what you can do as you go along. Which actually reminds me, so I have been kind of occasionally dunking on this book, but you know what I have to give credit to? For something based on Powered by the Apocalypse, it actually has quite a bit of ability to advance, if not necessarily your characters. They still advance somewhat, but your gang's ability to do things definitely gets better. You got to give credit where credit's due in that regard.
And that does bring us then to the planning of the heists on within, I guess, section 4, the score.
Oh, I like this little bit of art where they're on the canal. That I like.
Yeah.
I feel like proportions are kind of fucked on the person trying to sneak into the chimney. I think their proportions are a bit fucked, but other than that, it's pretty good. So anyway, here's the
So
crime section.
Yeah,
Finally.
so when you're planning an engagement, you'll have 6 different plans. Assault, which is just do
Wait
violence.
a minute, that's actually the ancestor. Like that is just the fucking
Holy
ancestor.
fuck, that is.
Ruin has come to our family.
Deception. So the second option is deception, which is to manipulate. Stealth, infiltrate unseen. Occult, do weird shit. Social, charisma, and transport, which is to just
I just
haul
realized
ass
that the occult
or people.
aspect is just so they can do the weird cockroach thing that Dishonored does. It's like the weird animal control shit that was from Dishonored.
No, I would say it's more like, hey, your mage can summon a ghost to go spook someone.
Yeah, if your plan is to do some arcane ritual or something like that.
Yeah, because you need information in order to do something. So it's time to summon up all the spooky ghosts.
So
You
this
know.
actually leads me to my next greatest idea ever for an occult alchemist for this game. Okay, hear me out. What if the cask of Amontillado resulted in, instead of just walling him up in the wine cellar, you then distilled his spirit into spirits to sell for very high on the market?
Hmm.
Ghost booze.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty neat idea.
So you set up your plan, you roll for your engagement to see what your outcome is, to see if you're in a good, a mixed, or desperate position.
Basically, where do you start? Because you can come up with your plan, but how that plan even survives initial contact can vary.
You also have the ability to do a flashback to invoke it to roll for an action in the
Oh,
past that would impact your present situation.
fuck that Tarantino ass bullshit. Get that out of here.
There is a stress cost to it, at least, so it's not I can
I
pull this out
don't
of my
care.
ass at any
Get that
time.
out of there. Get out. No. Fuck that.
You then have teamwork actions you do, and I think that seems to be it.
Like I said, like no, just have it be part of the legwork. I hate that so much. Oh,
Then we have our downtime mechanics. So,
I
which
wonder if they
are
added this. I wonder if they added this shadow to a heavily reworked photo of an actual real place. Hmm.
hmm, which then goes into your payoff, your heat. If you've actually been arrested, um,
Ah, here we go. The downtimes. So here's how you earn coin. Minor jobs give you 2, small jobs give you 4, big score is 8, and basically for each 2 it determines how many purses you get. Also,
and
most
then
districts
basically,
have a crime boss, so you have to pay a tithe. So you might have to pay a little bit of your cheese to the big rat that makes all the rules.
and then you get your heat generated, depending on if this was done in hostile turf, if you did actually any murder. Um, you mark your heat levels on a tracker. And if it gets up to a wanted level, um, you have the chance of being incarcerated. And depending on that wanted level, that means you would literally just get executed.
I mean, if it's only wanted to level 0, they could just beat you to near death.
Yeah, you have entanglements, you have downtime activities, and so on and so forth.
Sorry, all I can think about is the police assault in progress music from Payday 2.
I'm just envisioning a companion piece to Blades in the Dark that's just called Police Brutality Simulator. Or
Police brutality simulator. It's just you're playing the response team from Payday. How many killdozers does it take to get to the center of a Dallas pop? I don't know, but we're gonna find out very soon.
How much money do you think we could get with enough bribes from the crooks? I don't know. Let's see how much they're willing to pay. Add corruption mechanics. Add the ability to shake down neighborhoods. Like go full corrupt Victorian era police. That's like in the hands of the mob a little bit.
Hmm.
Like play it like as the worst aspects of Victorian era policing.
It's Gangs of New York, but it's very British.
So then after all of that,
I'm just
we go into a
envisioning them kicking down a door to slap a ghost with license fines and then getting an exorcist to demand its pound of ectoplasm to pay
boy, you
for
got a
the.
lot. Boy, you got a license for that haunting.
You got a license to haunt this building?
You got a
Or
license for
you go?
gremlining. What? You possess that there radio. That means you's a gremlin. You needs to
This
have a
is he's a
gremlin
gremlin, that
license,
is. See, gremlining without a license is a serious offence in at least 3 counties.
including this one. Now, thankfully, since this is your first offense, we'll only imprison you for the next 500 years.
Unless you pay, of course, the small price of how much is a fish and chips down to this pub?
About
Oh, I don't know.
core
About 350, I think.
yeah, three. What was it? 3 quid and 50 shilling.
But the
At least for
next
the
The
whole,
idea
at
section,
least
of
for the whole unit.
yeah, the next section for chapter 6 is how to play, including such riveting topics as how to choose an action.
This is another problem I have with Powered by the Apocalypse is that the way they describe their games are always so
Juvenile.
non-human and terrible. Very video gamey.
For someone who is probably going to be in the indie sphere of RPGs, meaning your players already know what an RPG is and how it works.
No, you always want to explain how they work, but why do you always have to just make it the most? It is. Oh God, I'm struggling to find words for this because it just feels mechanical, rote, like a robot wrote it.
They give us examples of how to for running the game, and I'm making we've gone to the mechanics. Let's actually break into this setting.
I don't
because
blame
this
you.
is we've already spent an hour on this, Adam. Let's not
Actually, no.
like overstay our welcome.
I do want to stop at page 214 because at least one thing notable that, unlike in the Modifius Dishonored game, this would not have, which is the ability to play as a ghost.
No, fair
It
enough.
is.
And
It's
I'm
kind of
just
great.
showing
I
quick
need to
briefs
yeah.
of like how they go into further details about how the actions work, which I
You don't
get,
need
but
this.
why does it need to eat up a whole page?
I do want to point out for the ghost. When you play a ghost, you earn XP when you exact vengeance upon those you deem deserving, when you express your outrage or anger, or when you settle scores from your heritage or background.
By the way, they had an entire section on GM's bad habits. I'm just catching up. Don't worry.
Which I actually like this. Why can you, why can you not have an entire gang of ghosts?
You forgot the
A,
demons,
an,
by the
ent-
way.
an entire gang of demons sounds really funny.
I mean, that's Demon the Fallen.
You can transfer
Yeah,
to the
but like
Ghost playbook, which is right here.
Yeah, which again, so instead of trauma, you have gloom. You lose any trauma levels you had in life, you take gloom instead and choose a gloom condition.
Which is fair enough. I think my problem is that you this feels like something that was tacked on just because oh shit, I need more stuff.
Probably.
it does, but I do like that it's you can take damage, you take stress to interact with the physical world for a few
Th-
moments to be a poltergeist. So being
then,
a ghost is sucky as fuck.
yeah. Then you have the ability to play as a hull, which is you're trapped in a metal body, forced into servitude.
Yeah, being a ghost sucks, but think about it like this. At least you're not stuck in like a clockwork animatronic fucking toy doll, eternally
All
screaming in
right,
agony
hold
forever.
hold on a second. Hold on a second, because there's something I want to note here. One of the features of the hull is an interior chamber. So in fact, you can just be an Ava.
You have a phono. You can just put a phonograph inside you.
Also, yeah, you can literally just be playing "Hello, my baby," "Hello, my honey," "Hello, my ragtime girl," as you're like crushing people with your giant robot arms.
And you gain XP when you suppress or ignore your former human qualities. Being more machine, I like that.
That that's also kind of an eternal nightmare. It kind of reminds me of Metallo from Superman animated. Remember, for those wondering, so the character Metallo, the dude was turned into a robot. Dude went fucking insane since he lost all of his senses except for sight and sound. It was basically a nightmare to him, especially since he was kind of a hedonist before the accident. Well, the
Ooh,
intentional accident.
yeah. But then the final undead you play as is a vampire, which in this case is a spirit in animating an undead body.
Which is actually one of the oldest iterations of how vampires work. It's not just the person coming. No, it's a fell spirit possessing a corpse. That's one of the earliest examples of European style vampires.
I believe that's also the same
Uh,
thing for the die book.
that's been like the thing about like a lot of ghosts, like spooky ghost things, is that usually it's not, oh, it's the person come back and they're awful. It's, oh, something grabbed that fucking body and is now using it to drink blood.
No, I'm aware,
Or
but it's something that people kind of have forgotten due to more modern takes on the creature.
the sexy vampire, yeah.
Yeah. Then they give us some other stuff like crafting for like different drugs or bombs.
Magnitude rituals, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, like performing a ritual, how to do creation for like making gadgets for your heist game and all that. I think that that's kind of neat.
Yeah. Getting a demonic artifact, all
I
sorts of
Oh,
feel
also
un-
like
their example is making a flamethrower, by the way.
at 237 is where we get the lore.
oh well, before then, I just wanted to highlight that one of the things I would probably point out is because of the effort they put into this, it really makes the core system and the core characters feel like an afterthought, kind of. A little bit. Like, they put more effort into constructing the gangs than they did on their character archetypes and progressions. Don't get me wrong,
Almost because
it's neat, but
a lot of those are like tweak things that are in this second other section, which is just like fuck's sake. Also, this is just a picture of Venice. I know that this is a picture of Venice,
it is.
and they just slapped a fucking filter on it
Yes,
and
they
put a
did.
big moon in the sky.
Yes, they did. Also, the moon doesn't even look right. It's too large and it's aimed wrong.
That's no moon.
It's a fucking demon station.
It's not. It's just a giant ghost that likes to pretend to be the moon.
So Duskfall, did they just change the name of this shit from Duskwall to Duskfall
No, that's supposed to
midway?
be the language that, like, it's
Yeah,
supposed to be how it's pronounced in the
the ancient
language.
name. Yeah. It was established over 1,000 years ago as a coal mining settlement in the cold north coast of Arcturus. Withstood breaking of the world and attacked by a titanic leviathan, massive fires, plague, civil war, and legions of angry ghosts.
Okay.
It is one of the most important cities in the Imperium, since it is the port that the metal steamships of the Leviathan hunters are launched. They give us a nice little timeline here of when it was set up. Uh, though culture. Dustfall is a mix of many cultures and traditions, as in most cities. It exhibits a paradoxical fusion of cosmopolitan rapport and tribalistic strife. The most common heritage um, is uh, Arcosi, whose people and cultures resemble the diverse groups across Western and Eastern Europe. You know, those very small, very well known, diverse groups of
Yeah, the
people that,
Hungarians and Portuguese, they're the fucking same. They're completely the fucking same. Greeks and Swedish people, they're the fucking same.
No, the Swedish people are different. That's the Skavlanders, which are literally
yeah,
just the Scottish and everybody who lives in Scandinavia.
Oh, fuck off.
And then the Eruvians, a powerful and wealthy dominion in the south whose people resemble the diverse the diverse groups across Egypt, Persia, and India. And like
It's
that last
all the
one,
same. It's all
yeah, that last
fucking
one,
the
They're
same.
holy
just
fuck.
brown.
Holy for people I'm going to consider are probably ones that are very cautious about being ethnocentric. That is very ethnocentric.
So, I already have issues with they put effort into building the cultures, but they kind of did the same thing as Candle Obscura, just nowhere near as pathetic. They at least tried to come up with some ideas. The problem that I have with it is, well, maybe they actually go into the cultures in detail. So let me hold off on that for now.
Well, they do go into like the languages that Arcosian Imperial is the common tongue, that it's expressive, nuanced, and verbose, for perfect for poetry or legal documents. Skovic is
Skovic is literally just Cockney. It's just
yeah,
Cockney. That's
yeah,
all it
it's
is.
and then Hadrith is the ancient tongue found in old musty tomes, but is spoken among some people, particularly Eruvians.
Okay, so that's all
Many
they
people.
got. Okay, that actually puts it on the same level as Candle Obscura. No, no.
I'd say a little bit more because at least it didn't say, "Oh, we all get along."
Fair, but my problem is the Akarosi are. I
Like
don't.
they actually say the Akarosi look down on the Skovlanders as traitors to the Empire and treat them poorly. We have actual ethnic tension in this setting.
True. That's a little bit higher than what the Candle Obscura did, but Candle Obscura also had the most homophobic religion known to man.
Yes. Um, Duskval is the true name, the original name. Duskwall is modern Arcosian slang.
Oh, do they
Uh,
talk more about the cultures later, Jimmy? If so, that actually might help.
they do say the sun was shattered in a cataclysm, plunging the world into darkness.
Plunge us
Um,
into darkness, demons.
Days are divided into two parts marked by weak lights at dawn and twilight. 12-hour segments. The moon looms huge and bright, swelling with each passing year as if drawn ever closer by some terrible power.
Oh, good.
During
A
Oh, we're
some
gonna
death
get a moon
clock.
drop.
Good.
during certain
Death clock.
phases,
Fuck
yep,
off.
of its transit, the moon appears to multiply across the sky. Ancient stars still hang in the black sky, though their arrangements sometimes swirl and change according to unknown principles of celestial motion. Uh,
They're trying too hard to make this post-apocalyptic.
just
Oh
very
yeah.
dark and edgy.
I don't care.
Oh, don't forget, it gets even darker and edgier.
They give us weather, calendar, seasons. A month is made of 10 days of 6 weeks. Um, the last day of each month is Moontide, an informal holiday based on a folk practice honoring a forgotten sky deity, now merely an excuse to stop work and drinking.
Neat. Anyway, plasm is the energy that keeps Duskwall from not dying horribly. It's
It's
gained from
ghost energy.
ghosts.
No, 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 no. It's gained from ghost whales.
Oh,
Yeah,
so what's the fucking difference from Dishonored then?
none.
There isn't.
Also, I don't give a rotten shit about how any of this is converted. I'm sorry, I just don't.
They do also give us what is there to eat in Duskwall?
Food porn I'm okay
Yeah.
with. I'm a bit of a
Eel and
gourmand, so
yep,
okay, let's go. Let's fucking
let's go.
go.
Eel and mushroom pie. Mushroom gardens are growing everywhere. Both the poor and the rich eat it. Um, Rich fertilizer seldom smells great, but that's why sealable garden cans are fashionable. Centipedes and other vermin are attracted to these gardens. If caught, they provide a much needed variety to the diet.
Okay, that's trying too hard. You were fine with just the eel pie, the jellied eels, which is actually
Yeah.
it is a real traditional dish in England.
Um, they have soil treatment by just putting something that once lived in the dirt to feed the fungus.
So here's another failure that they didn't do is they don't explain where they get their carbohydrates from
Um,
because these are all protein
Algae.
based.
they did say algae, water moss, canal weed.
Okay, so we're introducing a little bit of the Welsh diet. If you're wondering, the Welsh actually did pioneer the usage of seaweed, at least among the British Isles. I forget the name of it, but you could
I
do
mean,
that.
they do have bakeries, so that
And then they
wouldn't like bread.
mention that there is in fact booze.
You know what they could have done is they could have done something like, well, what's the equivalent of bread? Oh yeah, cricket flour. They literally take crickets and grind them in the flour,
That could be.
and then
Yeah.
and then you can
They,
and
they
then you can
say
have things like, imagine this version of a cheese toasty.
no. They actually do.
I
They
don't
do
want
say
to.
that like centipedes, grubs, worms, rat meat are sold raw, but sometimes they are finished into loaves, stews, or pies.
Yeah, but they
Uh,
don't explain where the flour comes from.
I don't, they do for
They
the
do,
The
where
fish.
it's the canal weed, water moss, and algae that is ground up into flour.
Yeah.
uh,
Uh,
don't think it can actually be turned into flour unless it's a type of pseudo cereal. If
This
it's a
is a
pseudo
world where the
cereal or
sun exploded, Adam. I don't think we can nitpick that.
I will, because they could have thought about it more rather than just try to go edgy.
let's see. They think
If you're gonna
there's a
food
super
porn, you got to do it right, man.
there's superstition that fish are thought to be stray thoughts of leviathans given form, and many are ugly enough to
Oh,
justify
they do
that
have
reason.
grains. Okay, that explains it. There we go.
They have chickens, they have goats, cap wine.
Let's talk about the harrow maze, though, which is it's a labyrinth for mice and rats, which eat and breed and run in a sealed environment, with traps automatically catching a certain number at regular harvest times. Put mushroom pellets in, get rodent meat out.
I forget
I
is
actually do,
I forget is rodent meat actually, because there's a few types of
Nutritious?
animal.
God, no.
No,
but
because
It's like
is this like caribou poisoning, where if you're wondering, certain meat strains, you legitimately lose more calories eating it than you do getting anything from it. Rabbits, for example, are well known.
rabbits. Rabbits are basically like emergency rations.
Caribou.
Unless you're eating also the guts with it, basically you're not going to survive on a rabbit. And even then, you still need something more. There's just not enough meat on it.
I do like this section though. That it does give a
No,
real
I like food
how
porn sections. I always
how
do.
shit they are, which is like, and also explaining. Well, if they don't have the sun, how do they farm?
They also eat dolphin, just to let you know.
Yeah.
Delicious dolphin. I can taste the sentience.
You're joking, but I'm actually envisioning, because there is a type of there, because here's the thing. Pork brains is actually quite popular as a regional dish.
Oh,
Also, it's the wealthy. Where's their swan tongues? Come on.
yeah.
You're,
We then get the government, and we have the Lord Governor oversees imperial interests in Duskwall, enforces edicts from the immortal emperor. Um, the city
Does he have a
council,
golden throne?
nope. The city council consists of 6 members of the nobility who draft and approve legislation. Council seats are traditionally appointed by vote of the sitting council when a member dies or retires. So, yay, it's a shit government
well, no, I
that
think the
is
Lord Governor serves as the seventh vote if there's a tie.
probably, but no, what I mean is this. Unlike Candela Obscura, which was a government that had five, which was, I guess, pseudo-democratic by having 5 branches, including the uh,
It wasn't remotely
religion
democratic. Only one of the
and
houses,
the military.
only one of the
Uh,
houses, and only one of the branches of government, I should say, was actually elected in, and even then, it was, I think, appointed. No, it was
yeah,
appointed.
this is a colony. This is a colony state.
Well, yeah, it's
You have the
vassalage to an empire.
you have the Ministry of Preservation. You have the magistrates, your court, the city watch, and your inspectors. And the spirit wardens. They serve the emperor directly and not a part of the official Dustfall law enforcement. Citizens can expect to receive justice commensurate to their social status and wealth. Bluecoats under general orders to enforce law, but they serve the needs of the rich and most influential. And we get a nice image of a bluecoat. We then have the underworld, the unseen, which is a criminal organization with secret membership, and the hive, the imperially recognized merchant guild. You get various
Mm,
districts.
I think the
Was it
names
the
for these aren't that great.
They're very Dishonored. That's like the Crow's Foot, and there's been gangs like the Crows, the Lamp Blacks, the Red Sashes.
Honestly, though, like the Red Sashes does sound like a
Yeah,
gang name you'd find in like 1900, like
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Victorian London.
same with the lamp blacks. Honestly, that sounds like a mining, like a crew of coal miners that decided to start throwing down.
we apparently have a religion, the Church of the Ecstasy of the Flesh.
Oh, we're skipping academia. Fine.
Well, no, I mean that's where we first see it in academia.
All right.
We've got Imperial
And the
Science,
Moreland Hall of Unnatural Philosophy.
The College of
and
Immortal Studies, by the way.
which is history, philosophy, spectrology, and theater. We've
Of
got
course.
the Charter Hall University, which includes on alchemy, House of Jurisprudence, um,
I kind
Spark
of
Right.
love this. Lawyer
Yeah.
gangs. This is you're just skipping this
Yes,
because the lawyers, this collection of homeless taverns, are dedicated to a particular magistrate who teaches law to a small throng of students. Barristers are often in competition with each other over grant funds and wealthy patronage, which means a bitter rivalry comes between the houses of jurisprudence, which basically means you could just be a gang of lawyers.
which I'm going to say this is, again, comparing this to Candela Obscura, that single sentence is a better hook than anything they put in that game.
Correct. Also, it actually does. While it doesn't really have a lot of inspiration from Italian city-states, it it really feels correct because you've
That shit did happen.
it did. Like that's where factions in city-states sometimes come from, is from barristers or magistrates that just got too powerful.
And we get the Moreland Hall of Unnatural Philosophy, um, with different secret societies from the Path of Echoes, Forgotten Gods, and the Ecstasy of the Flesh, which includes classes such as Ethics in Demonology.
That's a that's a phrase.
Um, they
I'm just now envisioning I consent, I don't, and it's like another demon. Are you sure you didn't ask everyone involved?
then we have the various sort of haunting aspects. So like echoes, loops of behavior, non-human ectoplasmic entities, the horrors, reconciled, which are ghosts that do stay sane, and so on and so forth.
Then a basic map of the city.
Uh, they could have probably put a little more effort into this art.
Yeah.
Feels a little slapdash.
And then they go into the various districts and give us,
I like the city map. This is pretty
yeah,
good.
they give us different
I
landmarks.
don't like the weird video game border that they did with the lightning towers, but fair enough.
They give us notables, traits, I guess, of people that would be from there, or I guess what its aspect would be like, for instance, the Barrow Cleft, which is the home to laborers and overseers of the Ministry of Preservation. Their wealth is only 1 dot, the safety and security is 3, because it's a marketplace.
Basically, this is just information about the districts and how they function.
Well, now I know where Oh God, Candle Obscura is even more disgusting than I thought, because this is
Oh yeah,
no, because this is the same fucking thing they did.
But
yeah,
better. But
but
absolutely
better.
better.
It
Because
gives you
again, like they give us
oh
the
God,
traits of like wealth, safety, security, criminal influence, and occult, basically showing us where do we go to rob and where do we go to sell.
Where you go to
I
buy, where you go to
hate
sell, which place
Candle
you're most
Obscura
likely to
so
be
much.
jumped by a fucking ghosts, which place you need to go when you've got a ghost after you. You know,
It
And various other
describes how the streets, buildings, the scene. It basically gives you all you need. It's a lot quicker than what Candle Obscura did. It gives you quick notables to reference. It gives you
it
maps,
even
by
has
the
a
way.
street level view, basically.
street level view
It
gives
describes
us,
the landmarks. The maps are
yeah,
simple. What the hell?
notable characters, perhaps some plot hooks.
It's a setting guide. It's a very solid setting
Yeah,
guide.
it that works.
Yeah,
It's not 3 different options that doesn't give us any hooks, and it keeps the theme throughout it. This sort of gloomy, decaying town with corruption and evil occult stuff going on
By the way,
all throughout.
another thing that Candle Obscura stole is I'm pretty sure they did I'm pretty sure they did the Street View map that this book does too.
Not really. They did like a painting.
They did a couple of times kind of like this.
The other thing I do like here, and after this all, is sort of the rumors and overheard in Duskwall.
Just roll a d6 and figure things out.
Oh no, it's like overheard. Looks like a regular tattoo to me. No, see how the crab's claw wriggles? Ink's laced with demon blood. Sure, and I'm the weeping lady. Well, you'll see once it sets in.
Yep, and they
Like
give you
reading
entire
this stuff,
districts. Look at this shit.
like reading this stuff, it paints a picture of the world perfectly
I heard the
of how
new
the people
inspector used to
talk.
be a captain in the Imperial Cavalry. I guess snooping crooks in the dusk beats riding down devils in the Deathlands, huh? Red milk, I call it. You take scarlet toad venom, distill it pure, a method whispered to me by a demon, cut it with a vesh of fractionated spirit essence, the best memories of former life. Damned hard to get, but if you got some, even a dram. I like the little rumors they
Like
give
I
you.
like this out of tune sea shanty. Pond my farm for a Leviathan hunter, lost me ship to the ink. Puddled back home on a dead gold shell, I'd sell me soul for a drink.
But yeah, no, what I thought you were talking about was the rumors in the street, which is the nice little d6 for like plot hooks, basically. City events,
Yeah, that's also
The
things you
various
useful.
yeah, the various factions, their tiers and sort of as their
yeah, what they're
hold
doing.
types, the factions. So actually here, the Church of the Exceed of the Flesh, which is the state religion if there was ever such a thing. They honor the life of the body and abhor a corrupted spirit world. It is though a secret society.
And you know the beautiful thing about what they
The purest beings, by the way, according to them, are demons. So they
nice.
seek to
Oh,
become more like them.
Yep, unlock the secret of ascension.
So basically, this is a gigantic cult to try and become demons.
oh,
Which,
this is the
all
this is the
right,
Bloodborne reference. Okay, I see it now. I'm still not getting the Fallout New Vegas one. Maybe just the amount of factions, but
it's the factions against each other
It's
and
the
the
well,
ah,
also
gangs.
the gangs because remember New Vegas had three gangs that were artificially created by Mr. House.
Yeah,
And also remember it's a city isolated from the rest of the dour dead world.
yeah.
Like I can see where the inspiration's from.
And I like page
By the way,
299.
all of these organizations are orders of magnitude better and more interesting than anything Candela Obscura did. And here's the thing. I have shat on this book occasionally, but I've also praised it in points. I'm going to be blunt. This is actually interesting enough that I probably will read this stuff later.
Yeah,
like on your own time, you'll go
Yeah,
over
this
this
is
in
actually
detail.
interesting enough to at least look through.
I
It's
like
very useful for because you could easily take some of these out just for like, all right, I need something to spice up a city
Like
in a game that
here's
I'm
a
running.
really cool one. The Lampblacks, do you want to know how they became a gang? They were originally the Lamplighter Guild. They were the people that would go out to activate the streetlights by lighting them. They lost their jobs collectively due to electric lights, and they became criminals because of that. That's creative.
that
That's something that
fits
makes sense.
setting. I'm looking here. You've got their allies, their enemies, their
Yeah, it's a great way
their
to tell
desires.
you how to actually arrange a game together.
Yeah,
I
like the
guess would be the way to put
gondoliers,
it.
they're the canal boats operator, and they're essentially rallied by an ancient tradition. They know occult secrets, but they're also essentially like a guild. The Foghounds are rough smugglers, and they give details. They give you the situation and what it's like for them at that moment. This is actually
And
good.
again, then they all have their own faction clocks. So if you want to progress plots with them, there you go.
Ah,
Yeah, and it's not like Morkborg where you could just end the world on a D6.
I like the list of the vice purveyors, and
Yep,
they
they have
include they
a nice
include
list.
faith as a vice. I find that
Oh, by the way, the
interesting.
Red Sashes, they were originally a school of ancient Eruvian sword artists, so they started as a secret society that have become criminals, which is similar to the Triads. I kind
Yeah.
of like that.
Yeah. Um.
You have a random Viking, Ulf Ironborn, newly arrived, fighting everyone for turf. He's literally waging a one-man war.
And
Then they
they
have a
have
nice,
what
yeah,
the streets.
the streets where they give you an idea of the streets where they're like, here's how you
By the
use
way,
it,
the
here's
vice
props.
purveyors, huh? Look, all of the vices they list are similar to Darkest Dungeon again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, they give you street generators to explain like everything if you're not creative at all.
Well, it's also that like I want to figure out like what this street's like because there's an area and I need a mood for it.
It,
And the heritage as well. Like they list the different foreigners, different styles, professions that they might have, their traits. They give a list of
Yeah.
names.
They even
Uh,
give, yeah, like good NPC generators are genuinely
and
very,
they
very
they
useful.
give devil names,
Mm-hmm.
devils and
very
ghosts.
useful.
They give us
Forgotten
forgotten
gods, the one
gods.
within many, the fallen star,
That
our blood spilled in glory.
That's a fucking
and
fantastic
yeah, and
name.
you can mix and match what they're looking for.
She who slays in darkness, the dream beyond death.
Honestly, you could use this in any kind of Lovecraftian setting, and it would
You're
work.
not even Lovecraftian, just like it's an ancient god where like that's the literal meaning of their name. Their name is something that you would know as something completely different. This is just an aspect of them that you've encountered.
And that's the other thing. The forgotten gods, you could actually use like a couple of them to represent their many facets.
Yeah, like you could grab a couple of these and be like, all right, so this is literally a god you already know. This is just an older version of it, a much more angry version of it.
Yeah, like for example, the burned king could also be known as as the throne of judgment or the keeper of the flame. The burned king and keeper of the flame are two titles of the same deity.
Ah,
Exactly. You could do that. You could also do it as like an epithet for a god you already have existing in your world that you're just building. Just roll on this
Or
because that's one of the things
alternatively,
people forget.
I also like the empty vessel. That could indicate a godling, like essentially a demigod.
Right. Right. But like the idea though is that like a lot of gods had epithets based on like what they did uh for like an area. For example, you have like Zeus had a bunch of epithets depending on where he was and how he was being worshipped. So these could easily be the same words for a different god.
Also, it's a
So
bit
it's
of a
like,
nod to Children of the Corn because their agricultural
oh, it
harvest
is.
god is known by the title "He who walks behind the row."
Right. And it's a nod to a lot of Lovecraftian and a lot of like horror fiction for how they like describe some of these entities that are getting worshipped.
they also then give us, in addition to like the various complications and uh, different scores you can make, uh, just a one-page note on the world. And again, considering you're just in Duskfall, I think this is still fitting. Like Arcros, land of dark petrified forests and rocky hills. Sevros, a land of windswept plains covered in dark scrub and thorny growths. Uh, Eruvia, black deserts, obsidian mountains, and raging volcanoes. The Dagger Islands, dense jungle growth now turned dark and twisted. Sclovian, a land of cold mountains and rough tundra. And Trichos, which is just a far off disconnected land. And they make a point that the water of the Void Sea seems to be composed of an opaque black ink, but it's possible to see constellations of shimmering stars far below the surface.
One
And
of
it's
one of
not
the
that the
notes here
sun's
is like
dead; it's
directly
just dim.
it's actually directly related to you, Adam. I love this note. The Shattered Isles have widely different climates due to magical forces left over from the Cataclysm. The water seems to be composed of so on and so forth. This was once a storybook fantasy world, a world of magic and wonders, which was destroyed and an industrial civilization has come across, built on the top of the ruins. Don't expect scientific realism here.
I was just wondering where they got the crusts for pies. That was it.
I
I
know, but
I knew
that's
it was
still like
magical.
it's still the MST3K mantra, man. Like,
Yeah, I know.
how he eats and breathes and other science facts. I should remember it's just a game, and I should really just relax.
No, I know. I just wanted to know where they got their pie crusts and bread from. I wanted to know, do they make a rat milk cheese for their cheese toasties?
I bet they milk the rats. Yes.
But
Rat
but
milk
yeah.
cheese toasties.
But with this map of the world, it ends with the Kickstarter backers,
Yep.
and I think as Jimmy has been saying, that
The
yeah,
setting's
this
actually
is an
really well
actual
done.
game.
This is an
This
actual game. The setting's very well done. I could take or leave the mechanics.
So, yeah, I would say the mechanics, there's issues with them. I'm glad they at least made sure that there are ways you can confirm death. I don't like that they walk back from it by saying, "Nah, I'm just gonna take stress. Fuck you. I'm gonna
Yeah, but
try
then
to ignore my
when you
horrible
do that too
decision."
much, when you do that too much, though, your character's still gonna fucking die.
Yeah, that's fair enough. There's a couple of other issues that I kind of had with it because of the ways the rules. You can legitimately have your thief just completely destroy them. I'm going insane just because they fail at talking to people too often, and it develops stress out of that.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have to try to get to there, but it's still funny.
it
Um,
is. It's the good old Call of Cthulhu problem, where
there,
it's like, oh no, there's a dog that looks weird. I'm going insane, and then you develop like a phobia of hammers or something.
I don't like the way that some of the character types get XP differently because that can screw over certain builds based on the type of game you run.
Right.
I feel like some of the stuff that's given to them, like the crew creation, probably should be slotted into characters because your characters I mean, they improve, but they don't improve that much, which, fair enough. You have your team and then your essentially group, but it is something I have to complain about. I also feel like they didn't quite do enough with the world settings somewhat, like at least with like the cultures. Like they could have done just a little more, like a
They could have done more. They could have done more world building, but honestly,
not a ton more,
it's
but
not a
like,
game about. That's the thing. This isn't a game about the wide world. This is a game about a very small city and
which
the
is
people inside of
fine,
that
but
city.
they also kind of don't quite nail that either. I mean, they're a lot closer with it than Candela Obscura. I'll give them that. There's stuff I don't like. There's a lot of stuff I do, and the factions are at least very interesting. The Lamp Blacks in particular are a very great example. Also, the Church of Demon Worshippers that want to become demons,
Right.
and that's the state religion, which hints that the immortal emperor himself is actually a fucking demon.
Yeah, you're part of a demon empire. Yeah.
That's pretty great. So,
You're basically living in the fantasy apocalypse after the fucking Dark Lord won,
it
which
it handles the clock shifting fine. I think the biggest problem I have with it is mechanically, it's really informal. Like your heist, which is the big thing that you focus on, your planning, it's arbitrated by dice. It doesn't matter. Like, I guess you're supposed to also come up with the plans, but the way the mechanics kind of roll out,
you can just roll flashbacks in order to deal with anything that your
I
GM
hate that.
throws at you,
That is one of the worst things they
which
did.
is a real problem.
I'm gonna
On the
probably
one
rate
hand,
this.
what I would have somebody do is I would have a thing where you would, as your players, everyone writes down a thing out of a hat, like on a note, and these are your flashbacks for preparations you've made that the other players don't know about, so that you can have that moment of like, oh, don't worry about that, I've done this, without the GM feeling completely out of the loop or completely unable to do something else that
If
the people haven't accounted for.
if it but that's patching the system, which that
Right.
shouldn't be like you shouldn't have to fix the thing that the guys made.
I agree, but it's just a thought, you
I
know.
know. I'm just highlighting that. Oh, this is hard because I kind of want to give it a decent, but it's just I think the problem is with the way it handles the mechanics is just so.
It's playable. At the very least, it's playable.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not
You could
saying it's
sit
worse
down
than
and you
that.
could play a game with us.
My gut says high playable. It's specifically just because it's not anything spectacular. It's a bit better than some powered by the apocalypse games because it's suited to what it wants to do. The problem is the way it describes how you do what you do. It felt like it sped run the actual game to focus on other
I,
aspects like your factions. It wanted to do
I
too
would put
much, but it's too many gimmicks, but not enough meat for the main game.
I would put it as a very solid framework for what they want to do. It's just it's going to lean very heavily on everybody role playing, which, considering this is a rules light system, no shock.
No shock, and it's fine. I feel though that because of that, and because it doesn't really cover the aspects of an actual like Shadowrun does that, like where you do the legwork and everything.
Okay, time out on that one. Shadowrun covers that if you've got a good GM.
Fair enough. It has the same problem. Basically, the way to take this from playable to decent, and I do actually recommend it because it's a lot easier to get into than Shadowrun. Just have a lot of your game be focusing on the legwork, like actually studying the thing you're doing.
This would be actually relatively easy to hack into a Shadowrun style game.
Yeah, I don't have any real issues with it. It's mostly inoffensive. There's a couple of things I hate, like the flashback thing. So no, I'm actually gonna. It is on the low end of decent for me.
I'm rating it playable mostly because there's a lot you can like in this. I just don't feel it's good enough to be like the way that people talk about it. I think is
True,
kind of where
true.
I
It's
get into.
overrated. Yeah, I'm gonna because
Yeah, it is overrated. It is overrated, and that's why I'm putting it only in playable because
yeah, it's
there's a
borderline.
there's a good framework here. There's a framework for a really good game here, and it just needs more time in the oven. Or like if these designers decided to not do a rules light and go like full ham on like a simulationist style thing of this and like really, really ramp into the world, then this would be something really special. They don't,
Yeah,
and I understand why they didn't, because that's a pain in the ass to do. It would take a long ass time. You'd have to figure out extra mechanical systems, and it probably wouldn't sell nearly as well as this did. It would have been a niche game among niche games.
Like I
yeah.
said,
That's
this was
that's the
borderline.
thing
I'm sorry.
is that for us we want the more rules, but
We want the niche games, but we're not the primary audience.
yeah,
And we have to admit that. That's why I'm saying this is playable. That's just a personal opinion. I'm pretty sure that if you asked somebody that had only a dabbling experience in non D&D games, they'd probably rate this at least as a decent.
I mean, I that's why I have it on the border. Like I'm knocking it down to playable specifically because of its overratedness. But if you just tweak the
And
two things I
I
don't
know that
like,
sounds,
well,
it'd
no,
go
there's
right
like
up
two
to decent
things
for you.
that if you tweak, it would stay solidly in playable and decent for me. Like it's pretty darn good for a powered by the apocalypse sort of inspired system.
Yeah, for rules like this is something that we can say, yes, we're rating it playable, but give it a shot if you're really interested.
I actually recommend it specifically if you want to do heists because it's pretty simple to learn how to play. It the clock
Right.
system is fine. It does the thing it needs to do. It's not obnoxious like it sometimes is.
Actually, I
It,
think that
it
where this would really excel is like a one shot.
well yeah, it's episodic. It's great for that. So I'm gonna recommend it. I actually have linked it to the creators the itch.io because you could get it from Evil Hat, but no, especially given the tariffs are destroying the industry. Have fun trying to get it as a hard copy. Yeah, you can get it for $20. I'd recommend
I
it.
think it's also on Drive Through RPG because basically everything's on Drive Through RPG, I swear.
I'd arguably recommend it. Like I said, think about it like this. I actually want to read more about the world setting. I actually want to read more about the factions. I didn't want to do that with the
I,
Genesis.
you also at the start of this were like, oh, it's going to be it's going to be a Dishonored clone. It is a Dishonored clone, but it's a
It
fun Dishonored
Yeah, I'm
clone.
aware
yeah,
of that. I was
it
playing
is,
around with it.
but instead of being just a simple like one-to-one Dishonored clone, they delved into this is a society that runs on ghosts and
Well, no, it
is
still runs on
very
the whale
just
oil, but like
well,
It's
but
ghost whale oil.
it's ghost whale oil, I guess.
but really amps up the occult and the ghost stuff. In Dishonored, that stuff was kind of
Side
In the
rare.
background.
It was rare. It wasn't like this where there are active wizards and occult users in society.
Also, the supernatural angles of this world actually are a major factor in what you have to deal with because any heist can be just screwed up by a spirit, and it gives you mechanics for that. It's not like Candela Obscura, which just stole the system, did it worse in every way. Also, when I went into this, I actually was kind of coming up with the, the Game of Thrones saying whenever a coin is flipped, whenever a Targaryen's born, a coin is flipped. I was thinking, what side is this coin going to land on? I think it landed on heads.
Yeah, this is
Hmm.
shockingly good. If you again, you have to understand this is a group that does not like rules light systems as a
Uh,
general rule of thumb.
it's a solid system. And the reason, and again, the big reason is it fixes some of the worst angles of the Powered by the Apocalypse system, mainly just because it allows you to
I
fucking die. Do you not understand how hard it is to run into games that's a thing in these kinds of
Yes,
situations?
I only have a problem with it because I think that the dice system that it uses, like this is why it goes into playable. I think the dice system is not as good as it could be. I think that the issue is trying to hunt for those sixes, which means that a single bonus die isn't really all that impactful when you think about it.
It's not that worth it, and on top of that, it has the same problem where you expect the GM to go, well, here's the complication.
Right. And again, there's
Roma
worse
at
systems
least
out
gave
there.
you Roma tweaked it so that you still got the success. It was just a lesser. They didn't have to have you on the spot go, oh, well, you successfully broke the gate open, but the chain is left open. You don't have to invent that
I
on the
mean, for
spot.
a yeah, I mean for a heist game that sort of makes sense though.
It does. It's one of those situations where it kind of works to your
It's
advantages.
again, this is actually kind of hard to rate because I wanted to say like playable is my baseline for this because it is a functional system. I would like to give it a decent, but I just can't because of my own hangups about the system.
I can't give it a decent for three reasons. Again, you mentioned the overrated aspect. That's a thing. This is overrated. It's one of the three systems that's getting spammed to death right now. That's a problem. It's a flavor of the month. My other thing, hate the flashbacks. That's awful. Don't do that. Also, just no selling death. Like you
It
establish
also
death and then the next page, here's how you can no sell death.
the other bit is here's my issue. The second issue that I have is the clock system. I don't think it does the clock system as well as it could.
Well, yeah, because you can just do an extended test.
Right.
I don't hate it though. You can use
I
it
don't
as a
hate
factor.
clocks. It's useful as like a ticking pendulum of doom, but it seems to try to use that as for everything, and that's not exactly the best use of a clock.
It's
Clocks are there to build
this is a
tensions.
new thing in tabletopping. I need to use it.
Right. And it's not a bad mechanic on its surface, right? It's just that when you use it for as much as this game does, it becomes a problem.
So yeah, like I said, I
Like,
do recommend it.
yeah, like give this a shot. If you're curious about you're probably not going to hate that you spent the money on it. You still might never play it though.
I would also say for what you get as a PDF, yeah, I'd say 20 is a okay deal for it.
It's a 300 page book, and
Yeah, it's a
most of
good
those
deal
pages
for it.
are useful.
Like I said, I'm actually going to go back on the faction, so that's something. That's something you don't see every day. Hey, Adam
Yeah,
actually
it's
likes
a
the
it's
world
a it's a
building.
playable book, and we're looking over it again to mine stuff out of it.
That's a bonus. I now actually hate Candela Obscura a lot fucking more now. A
This
lot more.
retroactively makes does this make it go into True Namer territory?
No, because it's unfortunately still a game, but I wish I had a rating that's the equivalent of fuck you. It's
Fuck
not
you,
deep hurting.
Baltimore.
It's not deep hurting because I'm not angry at it. I don't remember.
You're
That's
not
the other
angry
thing.
at it.
That's the other
You're
You're
just
thing.
like
disappointed.
just the faker. I get that's a fucking tier. I guess you could come up with faker or clone or something like that because it's just that's just what it is. It's an inferior version of this game.
Can we call it piss? Can we just rate it piss?
Slop. There's what we
Slop.
call it. Slop.
Slop. So yeah,
It's like it just yeah.
I recommend Blade in the Dark if you like rules light. I think it handles it decently well. Don't like the flashbacks, get that shit out of there, or at the very least, force the players to come up with their improv. Don't tell anyone, and put it in the little paper in the hat.
Basically, as a GM, you're pulling out like what could handle this? Like, what's something you've done to maybe help the heist out that you're not going to let the other players know about because you want it to be a surprise?
I'm also gonna say maybe make the no selling death thing a one-time thing per episode,
Yeah, like you
or
can
play
get
it up
thrown into an electric
comically.
fence and like yeah, or you can get thrown into an electric fence
Or you
once
play it
and
like Home
survive.
Alone physics, where you just like you're the wet bandits. Just play it up.
Just yeah. Uh, and I think
But
that's it. Next
yeah,
week we're thinking Glorantha again. Probably one of the Colts books because those are very good. And if you have any interest in mythology whatsoever, they're worth buying just for like, oh, I can take this god and throw this into my D&D setting. It would work really well
There's a lot of
if you're
gods in
that sort of
Glorantha
fucking
that's
nerd.
pretty good. Like think about it
And of
like this:
course,
Humacht would be a great D&D god as like a psychopomp, where their priests have their own rituals and everything.
well, they're a war god that says no resurrection for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a powerful idea. And I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff you can mine from Glorantha for almost every fantasy setting. And I still say just go play RuneQuest. Go get RuneQuest. It's good. It's complicated as shit, but it's good.
Well, I mean, a new edition's coming down the road, but that we don't know when that's coming out.
Right. And they're
but
still releasing the cult books though, which are still worth your money. Like
Oh yeah, they give you insight onto the religions, which are a big thing of the setting.
religions, practices, cultural stuff, how the deities interact with the world, everything is in there. I have to say, like, it can be hard to get your head around Glorantha, and then when you read the book we'll probably cover, which is like the Lightbringers, when you sit down and you actually read it, you're like, okay, now I start to understand a lot more because it's just a basic reference in the core that goes into like, okay, nope, here's everything you need to know about this god from a
Also,
player's perspective.
unfortunately, Queen
but
of
we
Hatred, you did miss this stream. We're wrapping up. But yeah, next week will probably be Glorantha. I do know at some point we're going to have to look at Apocalypse World eventually.
Oh,
The example of the powered by the apocalypse cancer. Uh,
and
however,
there
however, I think the bad book we should look at before then, just to elevate our expectations a bit, and by that I mean lower them, so that we're less disappointed, is to look at the trash fire that's Morkborg.
oh
Do you want the
oh.
world to end because lol you rolled the wrong die?
well, we'll journey to that dark world soon.
Yeah, not next week.
Hope
We're
everyone
going to look at
enjoyed
a
learning
cult
about
book.
Blades in the Dark. Next week is probably Dark Quest, and after that we
Dark
will go
Quest?
dark into the darkness of the dark.
And then finally
Goodbye,
the
everyone.
Star Trek book that Modifius wrote that was called Into Darkness. It was based on the hit sequel to the 2009 Star Trek. What do you mean it flopped? I don't
No, I thought
understand.
no, I thought you meant it's based on Heart of Darkness.
Yeah, we got Heart of Darkness. We got Darkman next, the Darkman RPG. Obviously,
Dark as the night.
yep. Blackest Night. We also have
Dark's
to cover the Green Lantern RPG book. That's the Black Lantern
we have to
book.
cover, of course, the greatest album ever made, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep. Then we also have to cover what's the other one? Fade to Black. I don't know what that is. I just have it.
What
Oh,
was the
oh,
shitty Metallica
also
album?
we could do the Dark Souls RPG.
We're kind of running this joke into the ground now.
We're
Uh,
gonna get into the dark.
Fuck
Unfortunately,
you.
I love that. I'm sorry, people who just showed up, but yeah, we're wrapping up. Uh, the stream will end in a little bit. We're just having fun making dark puns now. because because I'm a
What was
dumbass
that?
that gets
What was that
confused.
fucking superhero movie with Liam Neeson? Darkman?
Yeah, it was Darkman. He got blown up.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
it's a
no, no.
great
I think you're
movie.
thinking of the Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, we got to cover the Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, and
Raises.
well, not Batman Begins. It's the
Well,
Dark Knight
The Dark Knight
duology.
Returns. You're forgetting the Dark Knight Returns, which
True,
is
true. And
I
then Alien Dark Descent. That's a great RPG.
Alien Dark Descent,
Dark Seed 1 and 2.
Darksiders.
One,
Okay.
two, three, four.
Let's just end it. The jokes lasted too long, I think.
Yeah. Good dark, everyone.
Dark.
Dark endings, everyone.
Dark greetings. You fucking missed that one.